The world of boxing has just witnessed one of its most shocking announcements. Tyson Fury, the undefeated heavyweight champion, has decided to walk away from the sport after a stunning second defeat to Oleksandr Usyk in what was supposed to be the rematch of the century. It was a fight that everyone had been eagerly anticipating, the kind of clash where history was meant to be made, but instead, it has left fans and analysts alike wondering what the future holds for the Gypsy King. Less than a month after that loss, Fury posted a video to Instagram that would send shockwaves throughout the boxing community, stating his retirement and leaving the world to try and piece together the reasons why. The video was simple, straightforward, yet filled with emotion and finality. Fury, standing in front of the camera with a slight grin, said, "Hi everybody. I'm gonna make this short and sweet. I'd like to announce my retirement from boxing. It's been a blast. I've loved every single minute of it, and I'm gonna end with this: Dick Turpin wore a mask. God bless everybody. See you on the other side. Get up." In those few sentences, a journey of nearly 2 decades came to an abrupt halt. He followed this up with a message: "Thanks, it's been a blast. Thanks to everyone who helped out along the way. Happy New Year, Jesus is King now and forever." It was a moment of closure. The curtain had fallen on Fury's career, a career that had been nothing short of a roller coaster ride, filled with dramatic highs and heart-wrenching lows. From his explosive rise in the heavyweight division to his struggles with mental health, and his legendary comeback to claim the world title once again, Fury had captivated fans around the world. But now, just under a month after his defeat to Usyk, a fight in which he was outclassed and lost by unanimous decision, Fury had made his peace. The scorecards in Saudi Arabia reflected a one-sided fight, with all 3 judges awarding the bout to Usyk by a 116-112 scoreline. Fury's eyes were filled with frustration, disappointment, but more than anything, resignation. But this wasn't the first time that Tyson Fury had hinted at stepping away from the ring. For those who followed his career closely, they would know that he has danced with retirement before. Back in 2022, ahead of his fight with fellow Brit Dillian Whyte, Fury shocked the boxing world when he announced that he was done. He claimed to have £150 million in the bank and nothing to prove to anybody. It was the kind of statement that sent shockwaves through the boxing community. Why would a man at the peak of his career, unbeaten and on top of the world, walk away from it all? But after claiming victory in that fight, Fury quickly reversed his decision. The lure of history, the desire to retire undefeated like the legendary Rocky Marciano, was too strong. And so, in short order, he returned to the ring for a third bout against Derek Chisora. But now, with the sting of his second loss to Usyk, the desire to go on no longer seemed to be there. Despite his previous comments, Fury wasn't sure if he would continue boxing. "You might do, you might not do. Who knows? We'll talk about that next year," he had said to reporters. The defeat had clearly weighed heavily on him. The entire lead-up to the rematch had been intense. Fury had dedicated 3 months of his life to preparing for the fight, during which he chose to sacrifice time with his family, his wife Paris, and their 7 children, hoping that the sacrifice would pay off. In the end, it didn't. One of the most frustrating aspects of the loss was how Fury believed the fight was scored. He vented his anger towards the judges, feeling that Usyk had received an early Christmas gift and that he had been hard done by. Fury, ever the showman, had always been a fighter who thrived on the spotlight and the big occasion. His larger-than-life persona and brash confidence had made him a fan favorite, but behind the bravado was a fighter who had always walked a fine line between being the best and being criticized. After all, when you don't get the knockout victory you're famous for, when you leave it in the hands of the judges, you're opening the door for moments like this, moments where you can't guarantee the win. Fury's words were tinged with a sense of finality, but they also carried the weight of someone who knew how fickle the sport could be. When you don't get the knockout, this is what happens. You can't guarantee the win, he had said, alluding to the harsh reality of boxing. It was a sport where a single punch could change everything, where victory could be snatched away in the blink of an eye. And with his second defeat, Tyson Fury had realized that, despite all the accolades and achievements, nothing was certain in boxing. He wasn't invincible, and perhaps, just perhaps, it was time to step away. In the aftermath of the fight, Fury's attention had shifted to the Christmas holiday. He was done with the training camps, the rigorous schedules, and the endless media commitments. Now, he was focused on the one thing that had always been there for him: his family. Fury was looking forward to spending a quiet Christmas at home with his loved ones, a time to relax and reflect. After all, he had spent months preparing for the Usyk fight, even missing out on precious moments with his wife and children. In his eyes, that sacrifice had been for naught, and it was time to reconnect with the people who mattered most. And so, Tyson Fury's retirement marks the end of an era. A fighter who redefined what it meant to be a heavyweight champion, who took on all comers and faced personal demons along the way, now walks away from the ring for good. The world will wonder if we'll ever see him return. Will the fire to fight burn again? Or has he truly turned the page on his boxing career? Whatever the answer, the legacy of Tyson Fury will never be forgotten. The Gypsy King has left the ring, but his impact on the sport, and on his fans, will live on forever. As the boxing world processes the announcement of Tyson Fury's retirement, there are still many unanswered questions lingering in the air. What does this mean for the heavyweight division? Who will step up to fill the void left by one of the sport's most iconic figures? And most importantly, will Tyson Fury really stay away from the sport he once dominated with an unmatched combination of size, skill, and charisma? It's impossible to talk about the modern heavyweight division without mentioning Fury, a man who has always embraced the spotlight, drawn attention with his bold words, and backed up his statements with electrifying performances in the ring. But now, after his second defeat to Oleksandr Usyk, it feels like the heavyweight division is at a crossroads. When Tyson Fury first burst onto the scene, his blend of technical boxing and raw power was enough to send shockwaves through the division. He wasn't just another big man who could throw punches, he was a showman, a charismatic force that had the entire boxing world at his feet. From his dominant win over Vladimir Klitschko to his epic trilogy with Deontay Wilder, Fury's rise to the top was nothing short of meteoric. He wasn't just a boxer, he was a larger-than-life personality who understood the power of self-promotion, whose antics and press conferences often stole the show before the fight even began. For fans, it wasn't just about the punches, it was about the entire spectacle. Tyson Fury was more than a boxer, he was a brand, a story that captivated the imagination of millions. However, the man behind the mask, the man who called himself the Gypsy King, was always a paradox. While he dominated in the ring, he fought just as hard outside of it against his own personal demons. His struggles with mental health, his battles with depression, and his decision to walk away from boxing at the height of his career were well documented. It was clear that Tyson Fury's journey wasn't just about fighting in the ring, it was about fighting for his own peace of mind. The comeback story was as inspiring as it was improbable. He went from being out of shape, battling depression, and contemplating retirement, to becoming one of the most dominant fighters of his era. He overcame obstacles that many thought would derail his career, and in doing so, became a symbol of resilience for millions. Yet now, after his second loss to Usyk, it feels like we're witnessing the end of a chapter. Fury's decision to retire is not just about losing a fight, it's about a man who has given everything to boxing and who, perhaps, has reached a point where he no longer feels the need to prove anything. It's a humbling moment for any athlete to come to terms with their limitations. No one knows this better than Tyson Fury. In his post-fight comments, Fury was adamant that he had done everything he could, that he had left it all in the ring. He said, "I will always feel a little bit hard done by," but he also admitted that the knockout he had hoped for never came. And when you rely on that explosive power to turn the tides of a fight, and it doesn't show up when you need it most, it can be hard to accept. Fury's frustration with the judge's decision after the rematch was evident. He couldn't understand how Usyk was awarded the win. It wasn't just the loss itself that hurt, it was the feeling that it had been taken from him unfairly. Boxing, at its core, is a sport of judgment. You live and die by the referee's decision and the scorecards. If you can't knock out your opponent, if you can't make it an undeniable victory, you risk leaving it in the hands of the judges. It's a harsh reality, and it's one that Fury knows all too well. You can't guarantee the win, he said. And in that moment, it wasn't just the loss to Usyk that stung, it was the realization that, no matter how hard you fight, there are factors beyond your control that can alter the course of your career. Fury's words about spending the holiday season with his family also spoke volumes about his state of mind. He had dedicated 3 months of his life to training for Usyk, sacrificing time with his wife, Paris, and their 7 children. That sacrifice had been enormous. As a father, as a husband, Fury knew the value of being present for those who mattered most. Now, he was looking forward to a quiet Christmas at home, away from the relentless grind of training camps, away from the bright lights and the media circus. Boxing had been his life for so long, and while it had brought him fame, fortune, and glory, it had also demanded a price. Now, he was ready to take a step back, to reconnect with his loved ones, and to enjoy the simple things in life, things that, perhaps, had been overlooked for far too long. As Tyson Fury walks away from boxing, it leaves fans with mixed emotions. There's a sense of awe at what he's achieved and a lingering sadness at the thought of never seeing him fight again. The heavyweight division, as exciting as it is, will undoubtedly miss the presence of someone like Fury. His dynamic personality, his unpredictability, and his willingness to take on anyone in his path made him a force to be reckoned with. But now, with his retirement, the questions remain. Will the heavyweight division continue to evolve without him? Will Usyk remain the undisputed champion, or will new contenders rise to challenge him? The answers are uncertain, but one thing is clear: Tyson Fury's departure will leave a void that is impossible to fill. For fans, the legacy of Tyson Fury is more than just a career full of wins and losses. It's the story of a man who faced the darkest of battles, both inside and outside of the ring, and who, time and again, showed the world what it meant to be a true champion. Whether he ever returns or not, his place in boxing history is already secure. The Gypsy King may have stepped away from the ring, but his impact on the sport and the millions who followed his journey will never fade. And as the curtain falls on his career, one thing is certain: Tyson Fury's story will always be remembered. The man who shocked the world, who defied the odds, and who became a champion in every sense of the word, has left an indelible mark on the sport of boxing. His retirement may signal the end of one era, but it's also the beginning of the next chapter in his life. And whatever that chapter holds, it's certain that the Gypsy King will face it with the same courage, determination, and resilience that defined his legendary career. That's where the story stands for now, but boxing, as we all know, is a sport full of twists and turns. Only time will tell if we've truly seen the last of Tyson Fury.